What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. I'm Jeremy Lesniak, joined by my great friend, there's an R in that word, and oft co-host, Andrew Adams. Andrew, how are you?
I am great today, and I could be offend. I don't know what that would mean, but I could be offend.
You offend everyone.
I'm sure there's some people.
It's actually not really true. You're like a golden retriever of people. Like, the only time people don't like you, they're like, okay, look, you're getting hair everywhere. Now, obviously, they don't say that about either of us.
That's true.
It's very true. Now, what are we here to talk about? Not dogs, not terrible enunciation of words that take us down rabbit holes, but martial arts forms. And specifically, Andrew and I are going to tackle the question, is it okay to take a traditional martial arts form and change it up? For whatever reason you want to change it up. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that. And you may have a strong opinion on it. If you do, we do want to hear from you. The best place to hear from you is replying to the, can't call them weekly, the bi-weekly emails. We send out 2 emails every week because we do 2 episodes every week. And those emails have the video and the audio and some behind the scenes stuff, all kinds of cool stuff in those emails. And if you get it and you listen to what we say and you're like, Jeremy and Andrew are stupid and they don't have any hair, you can reply, you can tell us those things.
That's
now,
true.
Of course, there are other places you can reply, other things that you can do if you want to take the conversation public. Hopefully it's a little more constructive than that, but the internet's a funny place. But the key is we want to hear from you and we want to make sure that you don't miss these episodes. So sign up for the email list. Go to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com or check out the show notes in this episode, the very episode you're looking at. There will be a link to the place to subscribe to get those emails. And of course, you can cancel anytime. And we give you behind the scenes stuff. And it's just, we put a lot of work into them. And shout out to the rest of the Martial Arts Radio team, D and B. I don't know if they want to be named. So we'll just use their first initial. All right, Andrew. Here's a question for you. How many forms have you learned different versions of in different schools?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that question.
But more than one, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Probably, if I'm being honest, probably all 5 Pinons or Heians.
Yep.
So, Kusanku, Kushaku, probably at least 10 at minimum.
Yeah. There were some forms that I learned in Taekwondo, ITF Taekwondo, that were so close to what I had learned in other non-Japanese, non-Korean styles that it broke my brain.
Yep.
That I really had a hard time with both of them sitting in my head at the same time. Somebody made those forms different. Somebody said, you know what? I'm going to do a different version. I'm going to take it. I'm going to change these 3 moves or these 10 moves, or I'm going to change every move, but make sure you can see the difference.
Yep.
And I don't hear anybody complaining about that.
No. And sometimes it's a, I'm going to put this in air quotes, simple change, where in my Shotokan school, we did it with a vertical fist, or rather we did it with a regular fist sideways, like just a standard punch.
I'm looking
but in my Shorin-ryu school, we did that exact same punch as a vertical fist. The form was the same, but in one school we did it as a regular punch, and another school we did it as a vertical fist punch. But the form was basically the same, and there are other little stylistic things different. But if you look at the difference between Pinon or Pinyin Sandan, so the third form in a lot of Okinawan schools, and you look at Heian Sandan, they are the same form, but they are absolutely different. You can clearly see both of them from each other, but it's still the same form.
My research was taking too long, so I'm going to stop. At some point, if we go back far enough, and I don't care when, and I don't care how many, the numbers don't matter to me, there were only a few forms. If you go far enough back, you had, 1 or 2 or 5, maybe 10. And now you look across styles and we got a bunch.
Oh yeah.
And some martial arts systems have 30 or 40.
Hmm.
Some have more when you add in the weapons forms, and some have preset sequences of technique. Like Kempo has, some styles of Kempo have 108 or 109. Of these, they call them techniques, but to me they look like very simple forms. They're short sequences, but they have to be done in a certain way. They're forms, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I don't hear people arguing. Whoever took, you know, Kuzanku and turned it into Kankudai or whatever, back and forth. They're the worst. But I do hear people getting really bent out of shape when they see someone make an adjustment to a form at an open competition.
Hmm. Yeah. And the thing that really gets me about this, that I find ironic, is that you can find footage or drawings, illustrations in books of instructors teaching a form this way. And then 15 years later, another video of that same instructor in teaching the exact same form and is choosing to teach it slightly differently.
Yeah, true story.
How is that really that much different from us choosing to make a minor modification or whatever to the form?
Well, I think the difference is obvious. It's the authority,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And,
Yep.
and that's and you know I competed a lot as a teenager, and my instructors knew I was making adjustments to forms. In fact, I remember when they changed things for me for competition, and I remember
Mm,
saying, "I can do that." They said, "Yeah. However, this is not the official way we do it in the school." And
yeah.
when it comes time for teaching someone or practicing alongside with everyone or testing for your next rank, you better know it the correct way, our way, the school's way. And my tournament form for a very long time was Kuzanku, the Ishinru version of Kuzanku. Dramatic changes, if you know Ishinru, tall stances, and I was doing very deep stances, etc. And I remember on at least one occasion, my instructor saying as we were getting ready to do it, "Hey, Jeremy, our way, not the tournament
Mm,
way that you do, our way." Yeah. And one of the things that I find fascinating is that we tell people all the benefits of forms, and then we tell them in a lot of schools, but it also has to look exactly like everyone else's.
mm.
That's really hard to reconcile for me. How do you get as much out of this set of techniques without being able to find how it applies to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not speaking for every instructor out there, but I've often been told that, take what you're learning and make it your own. Everybody's shape and size is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so take what you're being given and you're going to be able to make it your own. Well, there's a perfect place to be able to do it.
Yeah. When I think about competition, I've seen people get really upset. I've even had referees in the past when I was a kid say, that's not the correct way to do it. Well, one, how do you know? Two, you're going to penalize me because maybe I was taught differently than you were. That's unfair. This is an
Mm-hmm.
open competition, and I could just make up the form, and that's just as okay. Now, if we're talking about, I don't know why my headphones keep moving. I apologize. If we're talking about a certain organization or school's tournament where you are supposed to perform the form in certain ways, you know, move 7 is this, and move 9 is that, and move
Mm-hmm.
12 is that, I understand. But what sets those people apart anyway? Slight differences in how they do the form.
Sure. Sure.
Otherwise, it's just about accuracy. Well, then everybody should go really slow and get it super dialed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of
Yeah.
course, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, everybody is going to go. I mean, the only way it would be the same is if you were as a group. Like if I'm teaching class and I have 10 people in class doing the same form, they're all going to be doing it at roughly the same speed because they're all following the senior
Mhm.
student doing it. They're all going to be roughly the same stance, depth and width and whatever. But if I asked each of them one at a time to get up and do it, they are going to be different for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, doing a form just like somebody else is so difficult, it's a separate competition division. Team
Yeah,
forms.
team forms, absolutely.
And you do not have to be a super skilled referee or even know the form to watch them and see the differences.
Yeah, yep,
They might be
absolutely.
slight, but if there are slight differences when they are working really, really hard to make it exactly the same, this comes back to one of the things you and I have talked about on the show a few times, this idea that instead of trying to force photocopies of others in doing, whatever it is they're doing, celebrating the differences,
Mm.
recognizing that martial arts is a living thing
Yeah.
because it allows for progress.
Hmm.
When I do my forms, whatever form, a couple of years ago I opened a school. Okay. We've got a small set of forms, and when I teach them to my students, I'm teaching them the same thing, but I am helping them find what works for them in the form. In fact, it's hard coded in that as they get better with the form, it should be more individualized.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and I think it's also like I'm not advocating for changing the form for the sake of changing the form, right?
Sure.
I mean, I think you need to have a little bit of wherewithal as to understand what you're changing and why. And I'll give a specific example. My tournament form was a Shotokan form called Kanku Sho. It's a slightly different version from Kanku Dai. Um, and the last few moves of Kanku Sho, uh, without standing up and demonstrating them, are basically doing a middle block to the left in a forward stance, stepping forward and punching, spinning 180 degrees around, doing a middle block on the other side, and stepping forward and punching.
Mhm.
Okay. So 4 moves: block, step punch, block, step punch. I changed that form because it felt awkward to me to do the step. So
Mm.
instead of a stepping punch, I did a middle block and I just did a reverse punch.
Mm.
And then I switched my stance to face the other direction, did a middle block and a reverse punch. And for me, it looked and felt a lot more powerful because I'm just shifting my body weight into the punch. As opposed to when I did it with a step, it felt stuttered.
Mm.
So I made a conscious choice to change those last 2 moves.
Right. And in competition, if the objective is to showcase your own skill as well as you can, then yeah, making some changes completely appropriate.
Yep.
So, why do we think people get wrapped around the axle on this?
A lot of, I think, this is my opinion, I think for a lot of people, it's ego. It's my way or the highway.
Mm. I think we're saying the same thing. I'm going to say it in a different way, though.
Hmm.
This is the right way. Everything else is not the right way.
Yeah. Yep.
This is the right way to do that form. You're doing it differently. There's not a right, no other way can be right. I see this a lot in internet comments when people will I just saw somebody post a taekwondo form not long on TikTok, and the comments were full of people saying that's not a taekwondo form. It's like, obviously you've never trained ITF taekwondo because I learned that very form.
Yeah.
It, yes, it looks a lot like this Shotokan form over here, but it's a different form with a different name. It's not wrong. it's two different interpretations.
Exactly. Yep.
I think the culture of some martial arts schools is about making photocopies. And when people see something that is not, it looks the same but has a different name, or has the same name and looks a little different, the only place their mind can go is, this is wrong, this is incorrect.
Mm.
And I think that's really unfortunate. We
Yeah.
talk
Yep.
at length about celebrating the differences within martial arts and learning from each other. One of the videos that I've seen, and actually I think you've done this before, I think I've seen you do this, where you'll have two, three people do the same form from different styles
Hmm.
and in real time. And I think that's so friggin' cool.
Yeah. Yep. And going back to the statement you just made of people saying, watching a forum saying, "Oh, you're doing it wrong." Well, no. What you could say is, "You're doing it wrong from the way my school does it," but every school does things their own way, and they may be doing it perfectly for their school.
One of the biggest mind shifts that I had, and I don't remember where this happened along the way for me, because when I was young, I was a nerd and I wanted to get things right. I wanted to do them correctly. Academically, I did well in math. There's generally one right answer to math, at least at
Hmm.
the level of math I was doing. And I, growing up as a teenager, unsure of my place in the world, I looked for things. This is right. This is wrong. Right. Like it became there's a comfort there. But as I got older, I realized, wait a second, there isn't just one way of doing this form. In fact, I've learned the form in three different ways. They're all correct depending on the context. That's actually kind of neat.
Mm.
And so it shifted my mindset from, is it right or wrong, to, it's different. What can I learn from this? Why is it different?
Mm.
How is it different? What was the mindset that created this difference? Hey, I just saw you at the last tournament. You did this form differently. I don't remember exactly what you did differently, but you've changed something. Why did you change it?
Hmm.
Help me learn. Because the question why creates the opportunity for learning and improvement. And if the attitude is not why, but rather cutting away everything that is different, you are ultimately left with a point where there's no progress.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
And that's sad.
Yep. And I don't think you will find a like okay, I don't know how to fit what I was going to say into a statement. There are so many different styles and schools and types of martial art that have commonalities that it's almost impossible not to see this form in this style done in this school, and maybe it's called something different. Like examples would be, you already mentioned kusanku, or I've heard it called kushanku,
Mm-hmm.
but when it got to Japan, Funakoshi changed the name to Konkudai, but it's the same form, but they do it differently. I've seen Pasai and Basadai
Mm-hmm.
for when it was brought to Shotokan. I mean, you look at Teki Shodan from Shotokan. In Shorin-ryu, it's Naifanchi, or I've also seen it Naihanchi with an
Mm-hmm.
H and not an F. But you go to some Korean schools and it's I think it's Poen, is that
Poem.
right? Poem, and it's still the same form. I think the Taekwondo form goes to the left first,
I learned it going to the right to start.
which well, normally in the Shotokan versions they go to the right.
In the Ishinru version, we go to the left,
Yeah,
and in
but
the Taekwondo version, we went to the right.
it's still the same form, right?
It,
And I don't
yeah,
know that you can find a martial arts style that doesn't have commonalities with these some of at least some of their forms.
only if it made up all of their forms.
Yeah,
And there
yeah,
are some schools out there that do that for that reason. That's okay.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, no. But you end up with, you know, we're talking about specifically in terms of forms, but if you look at techniques, how many different ways are there to do a high block, rising block, upper
Yeah.
block, right? Like I can think of one, two,
I mean, there's only one
three.
way. It's my
Oh,
way.
your
The right.
way? Okay. All right. Well,
the right way.
I hope we do it the same way. And for the audience, I'm thinking, upward angle, straight up, kind of a hook.
Yeah.
I've seen some that hook and they bring it back a little bit more.
I've seen ones where your fist has to punch up even though your arm is sideways. Yeah.
They bent the bent wrist.
Yep.
Oh, fascinating. See,
Yep. My last show in Roost School did it that way.
okay. See, that's a great example because I think I look at that and I say, there's a part of me that says that's dumb because I've never seen it that way before. But what the very quick second thought was, wait a second, it's not dumb because you don't understand it. Somebody with some manner of intelligence made that decision somewhere along the line. Let's find out why, and then we can decide if we think it's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And by dumb, it means I'm just not going to do it that way, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I want to hear from people. I want to know if you change your forms when you're doing your own training. Did you take your forms and have to create a subversion for competition or for demonstrations or for something else? And I want to know if your instructors or fellow students supported that or not. I want to hear these things from people. Best way to let us know, you can reply to those bi-weekly emails. Not semi-weekly would be every other week. And I'm saying this to remind myself. Bi-weekly is it cuts it in half. 2 per week. Because we give you 2 per week. Not 1 every 2 weeks. We give you 8 a month.
Unless there's 5 weeks in a month.
And then we give you 10. Or maybe 9, depending on how the days fall. Anyway, we do appreciate you spending some time with us here. And we would love your feedback. And we'd really love to make sure that you sign up for those emails so you don't miss an episode. Because that helps us grow. It helps us make sure that you get the content you're looking for. And it helps us share some of the cool behind the scenes stuff that we can't really stuff into the back of a video and definitely can't stuff into the back of an audio.
Yep.
So sign up in the show notes. Anything else we want to tell them, Andrew?
No, I think
email us, Jeremy at whistlekick.com, Andrew at whistlekick.com. If you have a topic, let us know that too. Until next time, train
hard,
smile,
smile,
have a great
have a great day.